Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Man, my auntie passed last night. This is a sad life, I'm trying to get my cash.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. I am back with some tumultuous information. If you're new to this channel, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. But today we're going to be talking about how the Bermuda Triangle is a draconian base for the deep state oligarch trilateral connection, which coincides with organ harvesting and human trafficking, which is why 800,000 people come up missing on the planet every year because it's being done at the highest level of government. And we're also going to be talking about how it's interconnected with the Anunnaki, the Draconians, the Black nobility, and the deep state Democrats. So this is going to be the video that's basically going to connect all the dots for you, right? So first, we're going to start out with the fact that the geographical waters of the Bermuda Triangle is basically a draconian base and a hub for human sacrifice, right? Because when you look at this publication right here, it says verbatim that the Devil's Sea is the Dragon's Triangle, which is also the Bermuda Triangle. It's a stargate. It's a stargate for the Draconians, who are basically the archons of the three-dimensional paradigm that is controlled by Black nobility. So the Black nobility, the Draconians, and the archons are basically one and the same because they are the ones who control the simulation, and the simulation is galvanized by human sacrifice and trafficking, right? Which is controlled by the Canaanite bloodline, which is also connected to the Khazarian mafia. We're going to get into that, right? So with that being said, right, the Bermuda Triangle, this is where you got, the British Islands. You got the Epstein Island, right? You got Richard Branson's island. Then you got Joe Biden's island. And I'm going to show you a video of a guy. He's going to be breaking down how these islands are basically interconnected, and they was basically galvanized by the Ukrainian mafia, which is the Khazarians, which is also connected to the Canaanite bloodline. They gave the island to Joe Biden because they gave those islands to the plutocracy, because those islands are basically hubs for sacrifice for the Draconians. It's a sacrifice for the gods, right? The ruler gods, who are connected to the seeds of Enlil. So I'm going to show you this video here. It says verbatim right here, Biden home brought by Ukrainian oligarchs.
For the third time's a charm, as everybody says. We're surrounding the island in every way possible. And Keewatin Island, if you're not familiar with it, was owned by the Bidens, and it was procured and given to the Bidens by oligarchs. Oligarchs are in the news right now. Ukrainian oligarchs are the ones who bought the house for him, though, right in the middle of the Maidan, right in the middle of the CIA overthrow. Why did they get Joe Biden a house on Keewatin Island here in Florida? Why did they buy that house for him for a Christmas present in 2013, for a New Year's present in 2014? Why? Because of the Maidan. Because Joe Biden, as the vice president, runs all the naval operative center, the Naval Operations Center there in Washington, D.C., the Naval Observatory that we took you to every time, and he can sign off on Q-level assignments. I believe Joe Biden signed off on the overthrow of Ukraine. I believe that's why his son got involved so much down the track with Burisma, so much down the track with Gopher Black. Of course, they trapped him in that hotel for 6 weeks. They had him sort of hold up like Hunter Thompson with 6 weeks of prostitutes and cocaine and $700 a night hotel rooms and Breaking Bad. That whole scene, that happened after this momentous movement, or this momentous meeting that happened out here at Keewatin Island. This is where all those deals were made. This is where the Blackberries were exchanged. This is what Deep Blackberry tells me. This is the start of the descent of the Bidens. Again, we position the Bidens as the compromise, the people who didn't realize they were being recorded at this house, that they didn't realize Alpha Group had the place wired for sound. Of course, they were listening in on James Biden and Joe Biden's conversations, Hunter Biden's conversations, even the daughter's conversations about one.
So like I said, The Bidens, he got that island. The Bidens got that island from the oligarchs, right? He got that island from the oligarchs. So now when you go to this video right here, it tells you about how the Khazarians, which is galvanized by the Soros and the Rothschilds and the Royals and the Rockefellers and the Gates Foundation, right? When you look at this video right here, it's going to basically going to break everything down as far as a synopsis of it, right? So now when you listen to this video, he's going to be breaking down how the Russians are basically fighting the Khazarian mafia, because the Khazarian mafia is connected to the Canaanite bloodline, who does the sacrificial rituals to Moloch, who is the son of Enlil. We're going to get into that.
Russians are fighting the Khazarian mafia in their homeland. They're cutting the head off the snake of the group that has been destroying this planet for generations.
What does that have to do with Australia today, here and now?
Because they control this country like they control everywhere else. And the Russians, along with many other nations and many other militaries, are actually fighting a subterranean war to exterminate vermin from the planet.
You see what I'm saying? So he's trying to exterminate vermin, who are basically the parasitical entities of the planet. They are parasites to the planet. So now when you look at the sigil, of Ukraine, right? When you look at the sigil of Ukraine, you have the crest of Ukraine, which is synonymous to the Moloch sigil, which is the Khazarian Tamga, right? So now when you look at that, it's also synonymous to when you look at the last video I put out. You got to look at the last video I put out talking about Antarctica, because it looks just like the symbol, the sigil of Lucifer. I don't know what happened right there, but it looks just like the sigil of Lucifer, right? So the Khazarian symbol looks exactly, it's basically a direct emulation of the sigil of Lucifer, right? So now we're going to go back to here. So you got the Ukrainian symbol, which is synonymous to the Moloch sigil, which is also synonymous to the Khazarian Tamga, right? So now when you look at it from that perspective, this is right here is a hieroglyphic relic of Enlil, and it's basically an emulation of the sigil of Ukraine, which is the sigil of Moloch, when you're looking at this trident in his hand, right? So this is basically interconnected to the fact that, Dagon, who was Baal, who was Moloch, it's all basically connected to sacrifice, right? So now that's connected to Moloch. Moloch is basically the child sacrifice god when you break everything down from an esoteric level, right? So now when you read this right here verbatim, it says that Jehovah, Enlil's firstborn son, known as Moloch, to the Canaanites, right? So the Canaanites is also interconnected to this, because the Canaanite bloodline, when you go to this passage here, the Canaanite is the beast, right? So now when you go to the book of Revelation, which is a transliteration of Revelation 17:18, it says the third entity of the reptilian triangle, the triad, the Jews, the Irish, the Italians, the state of Israel headed by the Jew, which is also connected to the Canaanite bloodline, which is connected by the Jebusites, right? So the Jebusites, now when you get a transliteration of that, let me see. Now, when you go down to the bottom right here, Revelation 17:17, transliteration of the book of Revelation, El's Holy Injil, it says that unto the evil reptilian that is going to give their kingdom to the beast. The beast is the Canaanite bloodline. He gave the kingdom to the beast, so in order to maintain power on this planet, they got to do a form of a sacrifice, and the sacrifice is connected to those islands along the Bermuda Triangle, which is where it's basically a Draconian base. That's where they give their sacrifices to, right? This is not by accident why all these kids come up missing on the planet. It's not a coincidence. So now, when you look at it from that perspective, right? So like I said, this is Moloch. You see they giving a child to Moloch, who is the son of Enlil, right? So everything is based on the Canaanite bloodline giving a sacrifice to the Draconians, who are the black nobility, right? So now when you look at this, when you look at this chart right here, right? When you look at this chart, you have the Khazarians, right? Which is connected to the Ukrainians. They are basically the ones that's galvanizing everything. So you see Switzerland, which is the hub of the black nobility. That's where they're stationed at. So this all interconnected to the Inquisition. It's connected to the Jesuit Society. It's all connected to Freemasonry. It's all connected to the Bavarian Illuminati and the Roman Empire. Because the Roman Empire, that's where the Byzantine Empire got their information from when they went over to Ukraine, right? Which is basically the head of the snake, like that guy was saying, right? So like I said, this is all interconnected. When you look at the bottom right here, it says Baal, Moloch, Set, Zeus, and Jupiter, who is basically the personification of Satan, which is El, Ra, Anton, or Adam, which is the false god, right? He's the false illumination. So, like when you look at this chart right here, it shows you how everybody is interconnected with the Canaanite bloodline, who is being controlled by Draconians, right? Because at the top right here, you see the Canaanites, who is the tribe of Dan, who came from the Hyksos, which is basically who infiltrated Kemet and turned it into Egypt, right? And then you have the kings of Babylon. So, everywhere they go, just like Rod Hayes said, everywhere they go, they colonize and they transmutate locations, right? To where they can basically hide the hand, because the hidden hand is the black hand and the black hand is the black nobility, right? So like I said, they infiltrated every sector. They infiltrated the church, the Vatican, and they use religious systems to take you away from your birthright. So like I said, now we're speaking on the Vatican, right? Since we're speaking on the Vatican, that's also connected. Like I said, it's all connected to trafficking. So now when you look at like I said, everything is based on the triad, the Bermuda Triangle, the triangular shape, right? So now when you look at the Pope's garments is also acclimated to the sigil of all the things that they tell you about. It's like, symbolism is going to be their downfall. Symbolism is going to be their downfall. Because if you understand the esoteric symbolism, you can pretty much find the esoteric trail of who's who and what's what. So this is a symbol for boy lover, right? So this is why a lot of the trafficking is also acclimated to monotheistic religious systems, right? And then, like I said, you look at the sigil is the boy lover symbol, and then you got the little boy's lover symbol. And so it's not by accident that you have the Bermuda Triangle, which is also synonymous to the triangular shape that is on the Pope's garments. Because like I said, the Bermuda Triangle is basically a hub for the Draconians, for the Canaanite bloodline to get a sacrifice to the Draconians, to where they have dominion as being custodians of this three-dimensional matrix system until their time is running out and their time is up. Because we in the age of information. And the age of information is galvanized by the Aquarian cycle, which is galvanized by nature. So with the infiltration of the Canaanite bloodline, the Phaeacian, the Jesuits, which is basically aristocratic families that existed for thousands of years. So they gods include Lucifer, Satan, Baal, Moloch, and things of that nature. So like I said, all this stuff is basically interconnected, right? So now, this also coincides with the fact that the Bermuda Triangle, when you read this right here verbatim, it says that the Maldakians, who are the skin-shedding reptilians in form, migrated to Ki, which is Kai, which is Earth, when the planet was destroyed due to a war what they had with the Anunnaki, right? So that's why Saturn is basically a gas planet, because Saturn used to be the star of planet Earth right before the inception point of the war with the Draconians and the reptilians, right? So, like I said, so it says right here now, it says that the Maldakians, the reptilians, are the home base of the under the Bermuda Triangle, and they call it the Angel's Triangle, but it's really called the Devil's Triangle, right? So, with that being said, that's also interconnected to the vampire in Brooklyn story, right? Because this is basically showing you the black nobility in real time, but they put it in the form of entertainment. Because like I told you, the CIA has an office in Hollywood, and Hollywood has an office in the CIA. So when you get this movie Vampire in Brooklyn, right? It basically shows you the inception point of how they basically transmigrated from many different locations by colonizing and hiding their hand by giving the custodian dominion over the planet to the beast, right? So now, when you look at I need everybody to go to Vampire in Brooklyn after this video. This is basically what happened. This is the intro of the movie. It says the Nosferatu, a race of the vampires, were driven away from their homeland in Egypt, right? Most of them headed north and settled in Carpathian in the mountains in Transylvania, while others migrated south towards Africa. They eventually crossed the Atlantic Ocean and settled in the Caribbean island, and they spent centuries living within the Bermuda Triangle and feeding on travelers, right? Because the black nobility, Draconian, Dracula, dragon is basically one and the same, because when you go to the Bermuda Triangle, they have their own ecosystem of vampire fish, which is basically a derivative of the Draconians, right? So a Draconian reptilian and a vampire, or Dracula, a Draco, a Draconian, a dragon is basically one and the same, right? So now, with that being said, that's also connected to cannibalism, because cannibalism and vampirism is basically one and the same. So now when you break down the etymological roots of the word cannibalism, you got cannibalism. The Canaanite bloodline was acclimated to cannibalism because they worship Baal, who is Moloch, in a form of sacrifice, right? So that's why, that's why they had that craving for blood. And the craving from blood is acclimated to sacrifice, right? So this is why you're going to see this video of Obama. A lot of people say it was an old video, that he was just migrating in Nelson Mandela's where he was locked up at. But it's not by accident that this video had just came out. So this is a video. Is he really locked up? Because he's connected to the deep state Democrats who were doing the sacrificial rituals to Moloch, or the Draconians that's within the Bermuda Triangle. Is that why everything that's taking place right now? Is that why he's locked up? So this is your president in a cell. So like I said, it's not by accident that he's in that, in a cell, because like I said, everything that's connected to the left, everything that's connected to the deep state Democrats is basically evil, right? And the reason I say that is because the Democrats is acclimated to everything that was on that Canaanite bloodline chart. Because now when you're talking about democracy, because democracy is really the personification of demonic rulership, right? Because democracy, which comes from the word on the suffix of the word kratos, which means rule and strength, and kratos comes from the word chronos. Chronos means chronology, that's acclimated to the Saturnian energy that is controlled by the black nobility Draconian archons through a holographic Veda simulation of reality matrix system, right? So now then you also go to demotic, which is in Greek, which is demokitos, right? Which means division, to divide, meaning to divide people from the point of view from the Proto-Indo-European origins. So division in itself is acclimated to their system. This is why they got to keep a certain demographic economically disenfranchised by stealing your birthright. This is why they got to keep you in a state of dehumanization to steal your birthright. Because when you have division, division is also connected to their monetary system. That's how they keep the simulation going. Because division, when you have division on the planet, that basically creates this frequency of a Hegelian dialectic principle, right? So because all their problems and their reactions and their solutions is based on monetary, and the monetary is based on classism and racism, right? So now I'm going to show you some videos, because everything, like I said, is basically interconnected to sacrifice. Because like in the last video I was showing you, when you had the train derailments, you got to look at the Antarctica video. The same place where they had the train derailments were basically the same places in the geographical locations of where they had a lot of trafficking going on. A lot of people was coming up missing in those geographical locations, especially in Ohio.
Including 8 children.
And that bus resulted in the arrest of 48 people. It was dubbed Operation Better Pathway. Fox 5's Misha DeBono is live outside police headquarters with what else was revealed. Misha.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is still very much an ongoing operation, meaning we could see more arrests. This all started on January 9th. Dozens of people were arrested. That's people who are sex traffickers and the Johns who were buying sex, plus victims arrested, one as young as 13 years old. It all started when businesses on certain streets in National City and San Diego started complaining about the open solicitation for prostitution on their city streets. Take a listen to this extraordinary video from one of their undercover operations.
Hey, baby.
How you doing?
Good.
It's cold out there.
I know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, how much were you looking for?
I don't know. You tell me.
How much do you have?
What's your best deal?
150 is the lowest I'll go.
150 is the lowest? What does that give me?
People, including 8 children.
So like I said, all these trafficking organizations is also connected to the deep state Democrats. All the hedonistic activity, all the sexual proclivities, all the sexual gratification is coming from the deep state Democrats, right? And I'm going to show you another video.
With the story that you'll only see here on Fox, an employee with Child Protective Services is caught on camera telling a 14-year-old girl in foster.
So what you got to understand is that child services, politicians, pastors, police officers, politicians, celebrities, they're all in bed together because the sacrifice is how you galvanize a certain energy on this planet to where you have wealth on this planet if you connect it to a certain bloodline. So this is why, you know, in the music industry, you always got to sacrifice something. Whether it be, you know, you got to do some type of sexual deviancy, or you got to sacrifice a family member, or you got to sign an artist and sacrifice him in order to gain monetary wealth on this planet. So everything is basically the food for the gods, who are the ruler gods, the Draconians, the Archons, the Black Nobility Archons that control everything in the three-dimensional matrix system. They gave power to the Canaanite bloodline. So everything is based on sacrifice. And they do the sacrifices along the islands that's along the Bermuda Triangle, because that's their base, right? We're going to keep going.
To become a prostitute.
That's right, and this girl is one of hundreds of kids in CPS custody living in hotels all over the state. Fox 26's Randy Wallace live from Southwest Houston here with this story. Randy, the exclusive.
Yeah, Jonathan. Now, earlier this year, a federal judge scorned Child Protective Services for making kids available for prostitution in the CPS system. Now we have a case where an employee with that state agency is actually encouraging prostitution of a 14-year-old child. Wouldn't they remove a child from a parent that told their child to be a prostitute?
They should. And they would.
Keisha Basley has 9 kids. She turned to Child Protective Services to help her with her 14-year-old daughter.
And tonight with the story that you'll only
You know, it's crazy to me, though, you know, even though they put this information out in the public domain, it's kind of like one of those things. It's kind of like it's like a paradox. They try to hide their hand. It's like a person. It's like a person stealing something, and they help you look for it. So they giving this, they propagating this information in the multimedia, but at the same time, they still doing the dirty work behind closed doors. That's how they throw you off frequency, right? To where you don't have an intuitive understanding about who's doing what, right? So I saved the best video for last, because this video right here, man, is basically going to show you how the Democrats, because this guy is basically a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower that worked inside the White House, and he basically confiscated many different laptops. And he's talking about how everybody that's connected to the Democratic Party, everybody that's connected to the Biden family, they're basically connected to trafficking and things of that nature. And they do this stuff on our islands.
That's going on with his drug addiction, which people feel sorry for someone who's addicted to drugs. The prostitutes, okay, whatever, but there's human trafficking, there's younger underage girls, and then there is selling government and national assets that undermines the country at large. You're talking about natural gas. I mean, we're talking big picture stuff here. Yeah, they have flaws in their character, but is there more when it comes to the human trafficking with underage kids? And is there more, because the natural gas is enough to take them down, but is there more with collusion with the Russian government or oligarchs and with China?
Very good question. Our report is laid out into three main sections: business-related crimes, drug-related crimes, and sex-related crimes. Very simply, Hunter committed FAR violations with foreign principals from 6 different countries: China, Ukraine, Romania, which Brad knows a lot about, Mexico.
See, also, I'm gonna scoot back a little bit, because, like I said, Romania is also connected to the Byzantine Empire. When you have Count Dracula, who was Vladimir the Impaler, right? Because that was Vladimir the Impaler's father. So this is also connected to the draconic energy, right? Because, like I said, the draconic energy, the best way I can explain it, look at the movie Dracula Untold, right? That's the inception of the Canaanite, but they show you a Caucasian version of a Draconian. He was living in the caves, right? So on Dracula Untold, what happened was you had the guy who was basically in the king of a certain empire, and then he didn't get that power until he went to the cave and made a pact and a deal with a Draconian, and he ended up having dominion over the planet because he was starting to colonize many different areas. So that's basically the same thing they do as far as like Draconians and everything. That all the sacrifice is based on the fact that they got to have dominion over this planet. This is why they do the things that they do. So, like I said, the Romanian Empire is connected to the Ukraine Empire. The Ukraine Empire is connected to the empire over here in the geographical landmass of America, which is under a fictitious corporation that's connected to democracy. Because I told you, democracy is the corporate legal fiction of the de facto corporation that's controlled by the infrastructure system of the Vatican, and it's controlled by the District of Columbia that controls the military and the financial sector of Great Britain, right? So this is all basically interconnected, but you cannot understand and decipher the enemy because it's all being galvanized by Black Draconians behind the scenes who gave the power to the Canaanite bloodline.
Yeah. Ukraine, Romania, which Brad knows a lot about, Mexico, and Serbia. And so,
and with the assistance of his father, using Air Force Two, a government plane,
all laid out
as Garrett lays out. Just want to make sure that his father was critical. He was complicit in those crimes because he aided and abetted his son in these transactions in 27 different meetings.
Wow.
That's
okay.
And by the way, one thing about the underage girl, Keith knows about this. We actually have we allege that Keith committed one state level offense, and I would love for him to get into an argument with me about this because there's so much material supporting my claim. Keith Abloh was told by both Hallie Biden and Hunter Biden that Hallie thought that Hunter was sexually inappropriate with his 14-year-old niece. And so while there's no evidence on the laptop of penetration between Hunter and underage girls, there is a conspiracy not to file mandated reporter claims. And we have Joe Biden on this, Jill Biden, Keith Abloh, and Carly Dolan, who is a California-based psychiatrist. You know, there are things that Keith can't divulge, but if there is an admission, just like with the Catholic priest scandal, of sexual molestation, and remember, these aren't my words, these aren't my claims. We just put the text messages and emails in there. Hallie said that Hunter was, quote, sexually inappropriate with his niece, and he was, quote, walking around naked, smoking crack, masturbating.
So I'm gonna stop it right there because I don't want them to, you know, do anything to the page. Right? So like I said, everything is connected to when he was talking about Romania. We need to pull up this chart again, the Canaanite chart. Right? So like I said, you have the Roman Empire, right? Then you have the kings of Babylon, the pharaohs, the Khazarians, right? This is all the inception points of their empires that was, you know, basically facilitated by the black nobility. Where is that? So like I said, everything that stems from democracy. This is why, you know, Democrats, this is why they always pander the black vote. Because pandering the black vote, when you get black people to vote under a democratic system, that's acclimated to the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment is basically a fraudulent contract because it was never ratified, right? So like I said, it takes you away all these, you know, sectors of Freemasonic organizations, all these secret societies. It's all interconnected with human trafficking, organ harvesting, stealing your birthright, right? Keeping you connected to democracy. This is why they always reward rappers. They always pander the black vote to rappers because they know that everything that is connected to the left is evil. Everything that stems from the democratic system is evil. So if you will, get a screenshot of some of this. I'm going to blow it up a little bit. So you got the Illuminati, you know, the Jesuits, the infiltration of the Zionists, you know, all these things is connected to how they built their system. And they built their systems of control through the archons, who are the black nobility Draconians, right? That's why when you go to the bottom right here, it tells you right here, the black nobility, Switzerland, 1291, right? And that's where they implemented the Inquisition to the Jesuits, and the Venetians end up being the Freemasons under the principles of Luciferianism, which created the Scottish Rite. And the Scottish Rite in itself is connected to the Bavarian Illuminati that created the Federal Reserve System, right? So since their systems of control is crumbling, that means that the financial system is going to crumble. So that's going to be the inception point of martial law, because when you also have martial law that's going to take place, that's when you activate FEMA. And then when you activate FEMA, that's when you destabilize a certain demographic of people by taking away their resources. So that can also happen during the time when you have a pole shift on the planet. So with that being said, utilize this information for utility. Get this video out there, because this video basically connects all the dots. A lot of people don't have the ability to decipher who's the enemy and who's who and what's what, because they think that, you know, these politicians, these celebrities, you know, everything that's, you know, connected to being a public figure, they think these people have our best interests at heart, right? When they just when their systems of control and their systems of authority is basically a fallacy. They're basically the custodians of the planet, because the black nobility Draconians are the ones who gave them the power to keep a certain demographic the seeds of Enki in a state of desolation, in a state of dysfunctionalism, right? So when, like I said, when you don't understand who you are genetically, you don't understand your history, you don't understand what the hell is going on, and then you start to conform to the political system or many different theological systems that's connected to Luciferianism and Satanism and things of that nature. When you connect yourself to that, you know, that takes you away from your birthright, right? So that's because you don't have any type of a sovereign capacity. You don't have any type of spiritual capacity because they tricked you into worshiping their forms of monotheistic religion. They tricked you into the political system. They tricked you into worshiping political figures and several celebrities and telling you to vote Democrat because all these things is connected to the seeds of Enlil and the worship of Moloch, which is also connected to the concept of the Draconian energy. So like I said, this is why you have politicians and pastors and celebrities. They all connected to human trafficking. Police, everybody got their hands in it. Judges, lawyers, they all got their hands inside, you know, the human trafficking aspect of it. Because they got to make a sacrifice to the gods to where they have this three-dimensional matrix system. That's the only way they can have their control on this planet. They got to make a big sacrifice, like I was saying in the Antarctica video. So with all that being said, utilize this video for utility. Get this video out there. End of transmission.